Welcome. It's July 12th, 2022. I'm Joe Weston, and we're here for our weekly online practice for reviving the global heart. And as I say, it gives me hope as you all show up for this on a regular basis, as things get more challenging on the planet, within the United States, in Europe, around the world, to know that there are people who are devoting our precious moments. And I always say that time has become more of a precious commodity maybe than money, and that with our precious time that we devote it to being in community, to devote our time and energy to supporting one another in stepping into a deeper level of resilience and fierce compassion, to be protectors and nurturers for what's unfolding on this planet as we hold space. And I say also, on some level, that we're midwives for a system that is slowly dying, maybe a little too slow at the moment, and a system that is being born, and that requires a certain level of fierceness and resilience. And as you know, we have every third Tuesday we bring in a guest to share with us their viewpoints on reviving the global heart, who they are. And it just shows how blessed I am. Not that I'm bragging, but that I'm blessed to be in contact with such remarkable people on this planet. And that people I know very deeply and for many years, people I just meet. But these people that I engage with, it's a blessing. And Rachel is one of them, Dr. Rachel Mann, who is our guest this week. We've recently met. We were brought together by Gina, and we've had some remarkable conversations with a lot of synergy and magic and alchemy, inspiration and hope. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Rachel Mann, who will be sharing with us this time. She is a sacred activist, a social scientist, a shamanic healer, and a spiritual teacher. She's as well an author. She's a faculty member at the Atlantic University, where she teaches courses on shamanic studies, peace building, and earth stewardship. And she's created programs which include, I'll just read some of the titles: The Peacemaker's Mesa, Embody the Crystalline Matrix of Peace, and build an online summit, which she's currently working on, Build a Great Wave of Peace, Sacred Activism for Peacemaking. I could go on and on because her resume is quite remarkable, but I'm going to leave it there. Welcome, Rachel. It's really great to have you join us.
Well, thank you, Joe. And I mirror back to you how wonderful it was to connect and to meet you through, and to just say how wonderful Gina is, and how I too am really blessed to be connected to so many amazing people doing wonderful work around the world, to try to heal our world and bring forward a great peace, build a great wave of peace. So I guess in 15 minutes, and you really have to watch me. And thank you everybody for coming. I'm really glad to see all your faces and your warmth, feel your warmth. Joe said I had 15 minutes, and I'm just going to ask you, Joe, to flag me because I'm an old university prof, and you put the quarter in and I can just keep on going and lose track of time.
I'll activate some of my fierceness, and
you'll activate some of your fierceness.
Appropriate amount of
and you got to like jump up and down, Okay. So, and I also want to say, hopefully my internet won't drop. We've been having problems with the internet here on the farm where I live. So, yeah, so, Joe suggested that I share a bit of my story. And I think what I decided I wanted to do was to start with saying that I consider myself a survivor of the Vietnam War. And with all due respect to the vets who came back and to those who fought on the front lines in that war, what I mean by this is that, of course, nothing can compare to that horror. But what I mean by this is that as a child, I watched the Vietnam War unfolding on the TV screen, where it was the first time that images of the war were being broadcast widely, and where there was a daily count of the numbers dead and wounded. And I have very few memories, but I do remember turning to my dad. I was probably about maybe 6 years old. And I turned to my father and I said, you know, Daddy, why do people hurt and kill each other? Mm-hmm. And of course, he was at a loss for words. And then I said, well, can't we just go and give the other side a check with a lot of money so that it will stop? Of course, it was my child's logic, right? And so I could sense as a young child being very empathic and compassionate as a young child. It was like I could feel viscerally the hurt of the children, the human beings, and the animals that were being harmed. So then what happened in the course of my life was that what unfolded was a constant concern about war, dictatorship, and violence. And I always talk about 4 streams in my life that all converged to bring me to where I am today. So that made me understand that somehow I incarnated in this life and had a mission to be a healer and to bring a message of peace to the world. So the first stream is the journey that I took to heal myself. My mother was very narcissistic, quite abusive on every level. And starting in my 20s, I got into therapy to begin to sort this out, and then discovered energy medicine in my early 30s, energy healing modalities. And in that experience, that first energy healing, I was on the table underneath the hands of this healer. And within a few minutes, I was experiencing the death of a French holy warrior on a field of battle in the Middle Ages. And I got a lot of information about him and why he went to fight the so-called infidels, and how in his last throes of dying, he realized, as a result of the suffering of his beloved horse and companion, he had kind of a life review and saw the faces of all the men, women, and children that he had killed. And he'd always believed that he'd sit at the feet of his Lord Christ when he died, and told his horse that Lord Jesus would protect both of them on the battlefield. And so I went through a big process with him, seeing his life, and developed a great deal of compassion for the warriors, and even those who are misled, confused, but also saw the great love that he had. And that opened up a deep portal in which, over the next 10 years, whenever I was on a table under the hands of healers, healing my own chronic physical, mental, and emotional pain due to the abuse of my mother, that I would be launched into visionary experiences of violence of one kind or another, where I was either the perpetrator or the victim or the bystander, or in meditation. Now, when I was 15 years old, I chose a book by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. So this is the second stream. And just to say that all those visionary experiences, I was being trained by the spirits how to channel this horrible legacy through my body, mind, soul complex in order to heal myself and others. And then I became interested in the Soviet Union and Russia when I was 15, due to a book I chose by Alexander Solzhenitsyn to do a book report on in my social studies class. And I developed a great fascination for the purges of the 1930s under Stalin. And that began a journey into which I majored in Russian studies with a BA in Russian studies, an MA in Soviet studies, and a PhD in Slavic languages and literatures. It wasn't until years later that I realized that my BA thesis, my MA thesis, and my PhD were fundamentally about trauma, and the trauma of living under authoritarian regimes and dictatorship, and how people heal through art, through spirituality, and self-expression, and how they survive, and the effects of this horrible mind of domination on individuals and groups. So that was one stream. My engagement in energy healing then led me, and also in my early 30s, I met my first Native American teacher, a Tsalagi teacher named Dahani Oahu. I went to study with her because she's also steeped in Buddhism, and I was exposed to Buddhism by my spiritually maverick mother. She'd be in her, when I was a child, she'd be in her 90s now. I always make that caveat because she wasn't a hippie. So I considered myself a Buddhist. I went to study with Dahani, Venerable Dahani, as she is called, and thinking it was the Tibetan Buddhist stream that she is also a teacher in. And it was the Cherokee practices that blew my heart and mind open. So that started out a journey in which I explored Native American spirituality. I studied Native American history and culture and religions. During that 10 years, I was being launched into experiential visionary experiences of violence and finding peace. And so eventually I also got training in psychodrama. I got clinical training in psychodrama for survivors of trauma. And in 2007, after having a very successful mainstream academic career at the University of Virginia, I left my tenured position to become a shamanic energy healer and spiritual teacher, knowing that this was my calling, my true calling. I did, while at UVA, develop many courses, innovative courses, bringing spiritual principles and practices, trauma-informed courses that dealt with violence and peacemaking, and and also racism in the US. And so I began my shamanic healing practice and have worked with thousands of clients, bringing all of this personal experience, all of this study into the mix with them, and also always with peacemaking on the front burner in my teachings. And last fall, I realized that I wanted to really do the peacemaking work more overtly. And so I launched an initiative called Sacred Activism for Peacemaking and Ending Violence. And as Joe mentioned, I have put together an amazing group of people on July 21 and 22 for a free online peace summit called Build a Great Wave of Peace. And so I'm bringing together all these parts of myself, the activist, the spiritual teacher, all my transdisciplinary social scientific training, my healing path, and my desire to bring a spiritual conversation into how we resolve and end violence and build the great heart of peace on the planet. So that's a little bit of my story, and I thank you, Joe. I think I actually stuck to 15 minutes.
Well done.
Thank you, Rachel. What I find remarkable about your story is, among many things, is that you were always listening to your heart. And that at the base of it was a strong aspirational desire, right? The desire to alleviate suffering. This is my interpretation of to bring about peace. And you were just listening, and you just listened, and I find that remarkable. What would you say, though, with all of your amazing experience, what would reviving the global heart look like for you? Or what does that even mean?
Oh, right. Well, I feel strongly that the global heart is still awake and alive. I mean, even as all these terrible, horrific events are unfolding, the escalation of authoritarian movements, dictatorship, war in Ukraine, and that war, of course, is very close and dear to my heart because of my deep study of Russia and the Slavs. That I feel like that what we need to do is that the global heart is awake and alive. And I always point to the fact that conditions now, in terms of our awareness, humanity's global awareness of the wrong of genocide, the wrong of war, the wrong of violence of any kind, was awakened in the 20th century, the wrong of racism and oppression. And I believe that there is a rising tide of people around the world who not only are doing the kind of work we're all doing individually in terms of our personal inner work, our spiritual practices, and inner work is really, really important. So I think that's also a way to revive the global heart within our own body, right? To connect our own personal journey, our healing journey, and to understand that as we're doing it, we're healing the world. And so I think that calling for all to begin to look inward is very important for reviving and building the global heart, and also to continue to have gatherings like this and to use meditation, sacred ceremonies, meditation, visualization, that are interfaith, interspiritual, is a really important part of this. I believe that every time we meet like this, just as Jesus said, wherever two shall meet, there is, the spirit, right, is so important, because with the deep shadow arising, the shadow of mind of domination, oppression, arising so fiercely, we need to build the fierceness of our compassion, the fierceness of our hearts, and therefore the fierceness of all around the world, all those sitting in front of their shrines and ceremonies, sitting in meditation, who are building this great wave of peace. So that would be my answer.
Wow, that's some answer. Thank you. Beautiful. I find it interesting, there's so much to say about that, but the idea that the way you say it makes it so clear that there is absolutely no difference between inner peace and external peace. It's just the way you brought it that just felt like that. And I can see that there can be people who doubt that, say, from the one this way of if I just work on my inner peace, that will solve the problems externally. I can see where people have challenge with that, but I think you can also say there's no way we're going to solve the external problems if we don't find our inner peace.
Yeah.
So that there's a starting point in that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's not to say that, I have moments that I feel angry and, maybe a wee bit of hatred, but that's exactly the moment to do the work, right?
Yeah.
And fundamentally, those of us who aren't in war zones on the front lines, that makes our inner work, this work that we're doing, all that much more important. Yeah. Because people often feel hopeless, helpless, like what can I do? I'm just one person and I'm having to live my life. I have children and work and, and I think that inner contemplation, and allowing the shadow within to arise and then working with it with love. And in my practice, I have a very deep and rich practice with my mesa, which is a ceremony, which is a medicine bundle essentially where I've been initiated into the ancient lineages of the Inca and their descendants, the Q'ero people of the Andes in Peru. And so I work very deeply with the Apus, the mountain spirits, and the Nustas, the goddesses of land and waters, because they are eager for us to collaborate with them to co-create this new world that is going to emerge.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to get to our practice because I'm sure a number of you might have some questions or comments for Rachel. And Todd has put up Rachel's website in the chat if you want to find out more or if you want to reach out. But let's do our practice. So let's get in our power sit and our position of sitting in a way where we allow the most. What we're cultivating with this practice is a combination of presence, awareness, balance, and flow. And on some level, you could say that's all you really need in each moment, however you interpret that. So by sitting in this way, you're allowing the most balance and flow to happen. So sitting in a way where your spine is straight without being rigid, elongating the back of your neck so you tuck in your chin a little bit, relax your jaw, your shoulders, your belly, creating space between your vertebrae. Always remembering there's no right way to do this practice or wrong way. It's about finding your way. Bringing your attention to your core and your lower belly, approximately the width of 3 big fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body, from the front of the body. Placing your full attention here, what I would say is your center of gravity, creativity, impulse, where your personal power resides, and your cultivation of awareness, deeper listening. And in the spirit of what I mentioned, one of the things I observed with Rachel's story is her capacity to listen and follow signals and impulses. That when we talk about deeper listening, we're not talking about just with the ears. We're cultivating a deeper level of sensing, picking up signals that most might not pick up, and trusting them as valuable information. So in the spirit of deeper listening, picking up information from your center, become aware of your contact points, feeling the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on and the ground. Feeling that sensation of the stability under you, communicating to your nervous system, you are held. Let yourself be held. Interpreting the chair or the cushion or the floor under you as Mother Earth herself. Remembering in the deepest aspects of yourself that you are always held by Mother Earth. As we come into deeper awareness of the present moment, beginning with the self, now from your center, become aware of your physical body. Again, gathering information, learning the vocabulary of the body, its wisdom, trusting its wisdom. In this moment, from your center, become aware of your emotional body, what emotions are present to you. Without judging them and giving them space to flow, simply notice, gather the information that the emotions are sharing with you right now. From your center, become aware of your mental body, your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts. Observing through awareness your thoughts. And maintaining connection with your core, your foundation of your center, your personal power, now bringing awareness to the middle of your chest, your heart center, where your heart power resides. Compassion, the desire for peace, courage, connection. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of that part of you which has access to something larger than yourself. First, becoming aware of that part of you, activating a deeper level of listening in that part of you, I would call your spiritual body. And with that more receptive, deeper listening, becoming aware of your connection in this moment to something larger than yourself, and listen. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Maintaining this connection with yourself, expanding out your sense of awareness in this present moment of yourself to your personal boundaries in all directions, filling that your own personal space with this awareness. Your connection with Mother Earth below you, with something larger than yourself above. Activating that deeper listening and filling your personal space with this awareness from your heart and from your center. And just considering in this moment, this time, taking this time to connect with deeper awareness with yourself is in itself a healing. Receive this as a possible healing. And with that awareness from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Maintaining this connection with yourself in this present moment from your center and from your heart, become aware of your surroundings, keeping your eyes closed. This is the surroundings you happen to be in this moment. You could be in different surroundings at any other moment. Developing that present relationship with your surroundings in this moment, not taking it for granted. Considering how your surroundings are influencing you. And with this awareness of yourself and your surroundings in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. With this awareness of self and surroundings from your center and from your heart, as we expand out our capacity to connect. From your center and from your heart, become aware of those in this meditation circle. Those of us here throughout North America, Europe, maybe other parts of the world. Perhaps visualizing us sitting in circle, however that works for you. And really focusing on, from your personal power and your heart, with honor and respect, connecting with the personal power and the heart of these others. Just noticing the effect this has on you. And again, what if this connection in this moment, this present moment, is in itself a healing? And listening, what information are you getting from those in this meditation circle? And with this awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. And continuing to cultivate resilience and fierce compassion with this connection with self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, fellow practitioners. From your center and from your heart, become aware of all human beings, beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. And who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many can you hold in your heart at this moment? And just to consider this idea, we've spent years now understanding the idea of softening the rigidity of how we label people as loved one, stranger, or adversary. Just considering as you stand or sit face to face with your loved ones, how fixed is that they are currently a loved one? Have they ever been a stranger? Could they possibly become an enemy? And Rachel brought in the cosmology of reincarnation. Have you ever had connection with them in a different lifetime, if that's your cosmology? Were you always loved ones? Could they have been your enemy at one time? Just considering that, all the aspects of that, gathering that information as you engage in this present moment with those you call loved ones. From your center and from your heart, with this awareness, take a deep breath in. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings you would label stranger. And who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many can you hold in your heart at this moment? And again, as you stand or sit face to face with those you would label stranger, considering the fluidity of that label. They're currently strangers, but could they possibly at some point become loved one in this lifetime? And if you play with the concept of the cosmology of reincarnation and past lives or future lives, have you always been stranger? Will you always be stranger? Honoring this present moment with them and the myriad of possibilities of relationship. Taking a deep breath. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label adversary. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many can you hold in your heart at this moment? Can you bring them into your heart? Does that shift your level of open-heartedness? And again, considering they are currently the fluidity of the label at this moment. Will they always remain adversary? Have they always been adversary in this lifetime? And again, if you consider the possibility of reincarnation as a cosmology, could this very person or these very people, could they have been a lover at some point? A child, your child, your greatest teacher. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. And with this awareness of self, surroundings, those in this meditation circle, and all human beings, regardless of how you label them as loved one, stranger, or adversary, deep from your heart and your personal power, take a deep, deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And with this awareness of holding all human beings in your heart, regardless of how you label them, softening the rigidity of how you label them, knowing that all types of relationships are possible. Consider the idea of listening to what moves you, to bringing you and others to deeper levels of inner and outer peace. And that each one of us that you're holding in your heart has that realization, possibility, hope. Now allow all human beings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to those in this meditation circle. Honoring each and every one of those in this meditation circle for the dedication they have to their practice, to the fluidity of relationship that can shift in any moment from this present moment, past relationship, future relationship. Allowing those in this meditation circle to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings, anchoring yourself back into this here and now, allowing the surroundings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. And taking a moment from your center and from your heart, going within, and with that same level of investigation. In what ways are you a loved one to yourself, a stranger to yourself, an adversary to yourself? And in what ways can that be softened? And in essence, being more present in your relationship with yourself in this moment with a deeper level of listening, following the impulse of the heart, both your core and your heart working together, impulse and heart, to help you cultivate that inner peace, fulfilling your purpose on this planet. And as a way to close, before we close this practice, allowing all the benefits of this practice, the energy you've generated, to flow into every cell of your body, activating and enlivening every cell of your body. Allowing this energy to flow into every organ, nurturing your organs, cleansing your organs, revitalizing your organs. Flowing into your core, you're like a battery, charging your battery to keep you energized and resilient. And lastly, allowing it to flow into your nervous system as a way to remember this, muscle memory, to walk this into the world. As a way to close this practice, let's take a final breath. Nice deep breath. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Look around the room, shake your body, stretch your body. Wow, Rachel, you really, I really felt the journey of that one. I was out on a journey there. Thanks for that.
I wasn't doing anything, just doing the practice.
Doing the practice. So we started with a motivation. We did our practice. Now we have a chance to reflect. Does anybody want to share? Or do you have questions for Rachel or want to share? Or
yeah, I like to react. Thank you, Rachel, for your great story, for the whole trip you made in your life. And when we did the practice, I could feel you did it also for us all. You did it also for me. And I could feel everything we all did, this group in our life for ourselves, we didn't it only for ourselves, we did it for the whole community, the whole world. And at the moment we were focusing on the loved ones, the strangers and the adversaries, I could feel they have their own trip in reflection, in growing, in dealing with their troubles, and they also did it for us, even the adversaries. And then they were no adversaries at all. And the strangers were not strangers because we have the same way of making a trip in this life. Our own trip, it's a different trip, but we all have a trip, we all have a journey to do. And I could breathe in the benefits of all that journeys. So thank you very much. And the whole group, thank you, because we do it together.
Thank you, Mika.
Thank you. Powerful.
Eliza, it's wonderful to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. For those of you who may not know, my mother passed away the end of May, and so I've had a lot of things going on. It's been an amazing journey, and she really knew that she needed to leave. It was her time. She was 94. And since she's left, it's created a space for new energy and for some new patterns of behavior, new relationships. And that's been very good. It's been very healing. So we're just preparing for this memorial service. And if you can think about us on Friday, I appreciate it. It's in Connecticut.
Mhm.
So thank you.
By the way, my middle name is Eliza.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not a very common name. I'm
That's
sorry
true.
to hear about your mom. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, and thank
Yeah.
you for sharing. I appreciate it very much too. I wanted to say one more thing, and that is, I so appreciate what you said about how inner peace starts within, right here. And Louise Hay would say, the inner informs the outer always.
Thank you.
Joe, can you
Yes.
hear me? Everybody hear
Mhm.
me? Yeah, I lost my internet for a moment. I didn't hear what you said, Eliza, when you so appreciated, and then I cut off.
I appreciate your focus on inner peace. And
Mm.
Louise Hay always said, the inner informs the outer always.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, can I share something, Joe,
Sure.
quickly?
Yes, please. Yeah, quick.
Yeah. So it was very, very lovely it's very lovely to be with you in this beautiful loving kindness meditation. And as I said to Joe, I'm so struck. I listened to the episode where Gina attended, and I was so struck about this gathering and how similar it is to a similar free monthly gathering that I hold called Healing into Peacemaking. And there I often offer what I call a love light meditation. And so we start with, may I be filled with love and light, may I be happy, healthy, whole, and free. And then we do the same thing. So it's amazing when like hearts meet, and it's so important in these times that we connect up and build the fire of love and compassion in our hearts for all beings. So thank you, Joe, for doing this. And I want to thank everybody for letting me join you for a little bit. And if you want to find out more about the summit on July 21st and 22nd, they've shared my website. So if you go right there on my homepage, you'll see the announcement and the link to register. So I've got some amazing folks lined up. So I hope you'll join.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And forward it on, let people know about it.
Pass it on. Definitely. They should definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, group. Let's do our
Thank you,
dedication.
Joe.
Let's end with our dedication. So as I always say, it's a statistical miracle that we come together of all the beings on this planet, and let's honor that that the energy that we've generated, that be directed. It has already had an impact. We've already had a beneficial impact on the planet, on all beings, on human beings. But let's direct that towards more of us waking up to discover the confidence in our own inner voice that leads us on our path towards peace. That the benefits of this really reach people finding within themselves that sense of inner peace. I'd like to also dedicate some of this to Dinah, to Eliza's mom, as she's on her journey, and to Eliza's family. And as always, may all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments and world leaders govern from a place of compassion and peace, as opposed to greed and fear. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Rachel. It's
Thank
great
you.
to see you all. See you again next week. Take care of yourselves. Be well.
We'll see you all again. I'll make sure I attend.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
definitely welcome.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye, Joe.